All right, day 4, 6, 7 of going live today. If you've been following what we've been doing for the past 12 months, we've been adding to our list of comparable sales property or comparable sold property that are coming onto the market in the Birmingham, Alabama market. Now, what we've been doing is tracking, obviously, the URL of the listings that have been sold, the bed, bath, and square footage, year built, sold price, when it was sold, obviously, because the more recent, the better, than low to risk. And then the garage and the basement and HOA, whether they have any, what subdivision they're in, and also some general comments about the condition of the home. Primarily, I just look at the kitchen, the bathrooms, the flooring, the painting, just seeing what else needs to get replaced. And then we started tracking all the properties that have been sold in the last 3 months, because the more recent comps, the higher confidence you have in the ARV, or the after repair value. And then we're also tracking properties that are coming onto the market most recently and seeing what the prices per square foot on a dollar per square foot perspective, what they're coming onto the market for. Why are we doing this? All right. So if you understand what the BRRRR strategy is, which stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat, that strategy is heavily dependent on you getting your ARV correctly. Okay. In order for you to get your after repair value correct, you have to be able to support the ARV estimate with comparable sold properties in the area. Now, what does that mean, right? Let's say today we were filtered on properties that are 4-bedroom plus. Let's see if I can pull this back up. I'm looking at properties that are 4-bedroom plus, single family homes that have been on the market for less than 3 days. And I found this market all the way in the top right in the northeast, 3148 Cobblestone Drive, Pinson, Alabama. And if you think about it, right, what's the ideal comp, right? I mean, if I was looking at this fixer right here, this fixer, and there was a sold property here with the same bed bath count, same square footage, same lot size, same finishes, same year built, blah, 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 blah. That'd be your ideal comp. But in general, you never really find comps like that, because as you go across man-made borders, such as these parkways, natural borders, such as these forests and these creeks, you're in completely different neighborhoods. Now, for this property right here, this is closest to Pinson, I guess. Pinson, northeast of Apple Valley, northwest of Arrowhead. Let's see. Pinson. Let me just write down this detail here. Pinson, northeast of, I just want to write down the neighborhood right here of Apple Valley so that I can quickly figure out if I ever get a comp, where are they? Northwest of, this way I can quickly pick out how to find my comps at Arrowhead. So if I ever have a property and I can quickly see what neighborhood they're in, I can quickly understand where they are, right? And this property is, honestly, it's pretty renovated, right? I mean, flooring's good, kitchen's modern, no recessed lighting, bathrooms are modern, some carpet that I would replace in bedrooms, but that's pretty much it. I mean, that's a pretty good comp, right? Modern kitchen and bathrooms, no recessed lighting. And there is some carpet in bedrooms that could be replaced. Painting looks great. Okay, so now I have general condition of the home. I can write down some of the attributes of this property. And again, the reason I'm getting down all these details here now is because I want to get the ARV correct, right? Because let's use an example. If you have a home that you bought for $20,000 and you're able to rent the home, renovate the home for $50,000, so now you're all in at 60 grand. So, 70 grand. So buy it for 20, renovate for 50. So you're all in at 70 grand, but you're able to make the home worth $100,000. Well, now all of a sudden, you can go get a loan for 70% of the home's value, right? That allows you to take a loan back out for $70,000, which is all your initial invested capital, and you get it back in the form of loan proceeds. So essentially, you're getting back out all your initial invested capital of $70,000, And now you can rinse and repeat. And that's why this strategy is so scalable. It's because you can use the same pile of cash that you initially invested and use it over and over and over again. That's what's so incredible about it. Because what's the alternative? The alternative is you save up all your money from your full-time job to do a 20% down payment, which is a very traditional investment loan. If you use your W-2 income and your tax return to qualify for that loan, well, that allows you to get your first investment property. But then you have to save up money from that full-time job all over again for another 20% down payment. And that could take a really long time, right? That's why it takes so long to scale. But obviously with the BRRRR, usually there is a heavier rehab. You're adding more work into the property to force the value a little bit higher. And that's what makes this strategy a little bit more difficult, because there is execution risk, right? What's execution risk? Execution risk is what are the chances of that person, or like your contractor, showing up and doing what he or she said they were going to do, right? Because good contractors are busy. Are they going to start on time based on exactly when you want? What if someone trashes the home, right? All these factors matter. So you got to be really careful about, hey, what type of return am I looking for to justify the amount of risk that I'm taking on, all right? No garage, no basement on this property. So now that I got all these general conditions of the home, I am going to underwrite this property as is, right? So now if I ever have another property that's a 3-bedroom, similar square footage where I can potentially add a bedroom, I'm going to track what this property is going to be sold for, because if I ever run into a situation where I do not get the appraised value that I'm looking for from my appraiser or the appraiser that the lender hires, how am I going to challenge that appraisal? I have to put forth comparable sold properties from the market of similar nature, bed, bath, square footage, blah, 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 to justify why the value should be higher. And obviously, when you underwrite this deal, you're going to underwrite with an ARV in mind to figure out, hey, in general, I think this home will be worth this amount based on this comp that have been sold in this market. All right. And the only way you do this is through repetition. And all you have to do is just add one property for your market every single day, just one property a day. And that's all you need to do. Okay. All right. So going forward, here's what we're going to do. Let's analyze this deal as is. And this property, again, is being listed for $194,900. $194,900. Renovation on this home. I am going to put aside just a little bit of money here. Oh, let me put my chat on. I always forget to do this. All right. For this property, I'll probably replace 2 of the toilets with high pressure flush toilets in row 132 because I want to avoid any clogged toilet calls. I have homes with high pressure assisted flush toilets, and I've never gotten a clogged toilet call before, so I'd rather get it done now, right? I want to prevent those clogged toilet calls because I don't want to waste the time or the energy. And if you think about it, if a plumber goes out there and unclogs your toilet, man, that's like $200. That's $200 already for that call. And then they replace the toilet, another $200. You want to spend a $450 now and save that time and energy to avoid any issues. Okay. Now, for my flooring, I'll probably replace 2 rooms with LVP that currently have carpet, so I'll leave it at 500 square foot. I'm assuming I probably need to repaint the home about $200, 200 square feet. Actually, maybe 500 just in case. I want to have some money set aside. So very, very small rehab. I got $500 for the landscaping, and then I got $1,500 for the roof in case there's any patchwork I need to do, right? Just having some money set aside. So that gives me a total rehab of around $10,080. Great. What can I get for rent? So if I go to affordablehousing.com, I go to the owner section, I go to market rent estimator. I'm going to plug in the address, plug in a bedroom count of 4, and I'm going to see, what the average rent is. It says the average rent for 25 units within a 2.3 mile radius, $1,651. That seems a little high, to be honest. I'd probably go as high as $1,500, but $1,600 seems really high. I just haven't seen anything in the market that really justifies this. This might be pulling an average of a much larger home somewhere. So I'm going to use $1,500 just to stay a little bit conservative here. All right. So for my expenses, I'm going to go to my payment calculator And I'm going to put in $58 for property taxes, which is right here. And then for my homeowner insurance, I'll put 151 times 1.2. And I'm adding a 20% premium to the insurance estimate because insurance companies typically view investment properties as higher risk. So they are going to charge more of a premium. And that's why I'm multiplying 1.2 to add a 20% premium onto this property. Okay. So that's why I'm multiplying 1.2. Then I'm setting aside 10% of my rents every single month for maintenance, for future repairs. This is so important because I just got a bill for replacing a roof on our home in Arizona for 15 grand. If you didn't set aside $150 every single month to replace that roof, you would be grossly underestimating your expenses and you would have been overestimating your profitability because you didn't set aside this money. So don't be that person. Don't forget to include real expenses because you know if you hold this long term, those expenses are coming down the road no matter what. All right. Then I got 10% set aside for maintenance. Property management. And then I got 5% set aside for vacancy because at some point your home will be empty. And sometimes things will take a little bit longer and your home's going to stay empty longer. So please, please, please set aside this money every single month. All right. Then for my down payment, I'm setting aside 25% for my down payment. So my down payment amount is going to be equals to B4, which is my listing price, times my down payment percentage of 25% in F19. That will get me to a 48.75K, 725K down payment. 2.5% for closing costs, $10,000 for renovations. So my financing amounts in K6 is going to equals to my asking price and B4 minus my down payment amount. In E19, so I'll be financing 146 grand. Now, interest rates probably close to around 7.5%, but this is why we are tracking properties that are coming on the market, because if you understand how 30-year mortgage interest rates work, let's talk about this. If you understand what the 30-year mortgage interest rates are driven by, they're really driven by a couple of things, right? One is the interest rate of the 10-year treasury yield. And the second thing is the spread between the 10-year yield and the 30-year mortgage interest rates. So historically, that spread has been about 1.5% to 2%, but it's gone as high as 3% when you saw interest rates in the 8s. Now that the spread has narrowed, you can see that we're still in the 7s, even though the interest rate for the 10-year yield has gone from its low of 3.6, 3.3 to 4.7, right? So you got to track what's coming on the market, what they're being sold for, because as interest rates go up, it drives affordability down. And that's what you got to pay attention to, because if you're relying on a euro comp when interest rate has done this much and the spread has gone from very wide to narrow, those are huge implications. All right, so now here's what we're going to do. If we rent this property out as a 1,500 4-bedroom for $1,500 a month, I would be cash flowing negative 136 on this property, and that's a negative 2.6% return on my capital. Assuming I bought this property for $190, I'm going to use round numbers here, for $195 and $10,000 rehab. Okay, assuming 25% down and 7.5% interest rate. Now, for me, if I want to use this property as a long-term rental, I can. Well, what price would I have to buy the property for, assuming everything else stays constant, to make this a deal, quote unquote? All right, watch what happens when I lower this asking price to 120 grand. Great, it went a lot higher, but still, and I'm not saying 10% is a magical number. This is not an investment advice. We're not soliciting any investments on this call. I'm just showing you all how to adjust the factors on these properties to make it work. So now, 102, boom, 105, 106. So at $106,000, this would get you to your target return of 10.1%, right? That's assuming everything else stays constant. So this scenario works at 106. Does that mean you'll get the property for 106? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? But at least now you know that if you're able to buy this property for $106,000 for 25% down at 7.5% interest rate, you can get to a 10% interest. Now, what if your interest rates drop to 6%, right? Now your willingness to pay goes up. So that's why it's so important for you to figure out what's happening in the market, because now you can go up to 118 maybe. Let's try that. Now, instead of 106, you can afford to pay 118 grand, which is almost $12,000 more if the interest rate simply drop by 1.5% and what's happening in the market, because that's a $355 cash flow a month, and that's a 10% return, assuming you rent this property out for $1,500 bucks. All right. Now, let's say you go talk to a property manager and you get some more details, and you say, hey, the demand here is a little bit better than expected, so maybe I really can get $1,600 bucks for rent. Well, now all of a sudden you can afford to pay even more, right? So now as rents go up in the market, you can now afford to pay 130 because that's still a 9.9% return, assuming everything else stays constant and you're still at a 6% interest rate. So now you understand, right? $1,600 rent, I can cash out $376, and that's what's going to drive you to understand how to make these decisions without getting your emotions involved. This is how you figure out what is the right approach, the price, or a set of terms that will make this a deal for you. All right, I hope this was helpful, everybody, going through this exercise. My goal is this. I hope you copy my homework, right? Analyze the same deal I analyzed today using the same spreadsheet. You guys want to copy the spreadsheet, go to affordablehousing.io. I didn't make the spreadsheet from scratch. Got it from a few other folks. I modified, I tweaked it so that I can analyze deals as fast as possible. Putting your name, email, phone number, and that's the fastest for you to get a copy of the spreadsheet, right? These details will differ for every single market, and your rehab is going to be different for every single market. Just use this as a general guidance to see whether or not it's worth your time to investigate further. Because you have to make a decision about your time and your energy to make sure that you're only pursuing the properties, or you're sending out boots on the ground to get photos, or sending out a contractor to go give you a bid for the rehab. Only if you think it's going to make money, all right? Because the last thing you want to do is burn out, all right? I hope you all have an amazing Thursday. Spend some quality time with your family and friends today, because that's what life is all about. I'll see you all tomorrow for day 468. Have a good one, everybody. I'll see you all tomorrow.